Concessional contribution splitting is an effective strategy that allows you to balance superannuation balances between partners or favor one superannuation balance for technical or strategic reasons. So contribution splitting is where you effectively take the concessional contributions that a spouse received in one financial year and transfer it over to the other spouse. Now, what you in effect are allowed to do is contribute 85% of one spouse's concessional contributions to the other spouse in the following financial year. So, if, for example, you had a wife and a husband, the wife had $10,000 contributed to her superannuation as concessional contributions, and let's say they were both under the age of 60, or if they were over the age of 60, neither of them were yet retired, you would be able to transfer $8,500 from the wife over to the husband's superannuation account. Now, the reason why it's $8,500 as opposed to $10,000 is, remember, when we contribute $10,000 as a concessional contribution into superannuation, there's a 15% concessional contributions tax. So the full superannuation value of that concessional contribution post-tax can actually be transferred from one spouse to the other. Now, there are a couple of ways that you would want to use this. One way that we can imagine would be to say, well, if we have one spouse and another spouse where they're approximately the same age, but one spouse is earning a far greater income, it may be the case that if all of those concessional contributions go to that one spouse, we're going to have an issue from the perspective of, one, the superannuation value cap, or two, the pension transfer cap. Currently, the superannuation cap's at 3 million, the pension transfer cap's at 1.9, but who knows what that's going to be in the future. So if you've got one spouse where you've got a far higher superannuation balance, another spouse has got a far lower superannuation balance, if there's a situation where those caps continue to exist or are potentially even tightened, you may end up with a position where one of the spouses is in effect handicapped and disadvantaged, when if both of the spouses had equal superannuation balances, that wouldn't be a problem. So for example, if one spouse has $4 million in superannuation, another spouse has $1 million, well, that would be a problem because one spouse would breach the 3 million super cap and the 1.9 million pension transfer cap. On the other hand, if both spouses had about $2 million, they would only breach the pension transfer cap by $100,000 each, and neither of them will have breached the superannuation cap. A different strategy exists where you've got a bit of an asymmetry in terms of the ages of the partners. Imagine if you had a partner that was 45 years old and another partner that was 35 years old. Now, both of them have the same preservation age. That means that both of them are going to have access to their superannuation when they turn 60. However, one spouse is 15 years away from being able to access their super. The other spouse is 25 years away from being able to access the super. So another way that contribution splitting can be used is to actually favor the spouse who's older if there's a large age gap between them, so that you're able to move more money into a pension environment sooner, plus get that money into a pension environment where you have a tax-free status and the ability to withdraw the funds with flexibility and without any restrictions in a shorter time frame. So those are two strategies on how you can use concessional contribution splitting. A couple of notes. You can't contribution split if the spouse who's receiving the contributions is over 60 and no longer working, i.e. in retirement, or if they're over the age of 65. You can only contribution split 1 year at a time. So the current financial year can be contribution split the following financial year, and a couple of different things could occur that eliminate your ability to contribution split for that year. If you rolled over funds from one superannuation fund to another one, that new fund wouldn't actually have the record of the concessional contributions. You wouldn't be able to do it. Or if you have a change in trustees in the fund, sometimes that can also kind of wipe your contribution ledger, so to speak, and invalidate your ability to do it. But if you look at this on a regular basis, and if you think about whether there is actually an advantage in evening out balances or creating an asymmetry in balances as a consequence of a difference in age, then contribution splitting can actually be quite a valuable tool in your own financial planning toolkit. Like always, if you've got any questions, comments, or you'd like to learn something more about a specific element, let us know in the comments and we'll try and get to it as quickly as possible. Thank you and goodbye.